What's up everybody, SuperDucks fan here for another weekly update. So, lots of good news to cover this week. The first interesting thing is that there's a new rumor that the Honda S2000 is coming back. Now, we've heard this rumor many times over the course of the past 10 years, and it's always resulted in basically nothing. But there's a new unnamed source that is an insider that says that they're working on a new version, and the main reason why is for a good while now, Honda dealers have been complaining that there hasn't been anything exciting in the Honda lineup for them to sell, and so they said they want a sports car. They said they want it to be high horsepower and retractable hardtop. Those are the two things they said all the dealers are clamoring for, and so Honda is supposedly, according to this rumor, working on a new sports car, a new S2000 successor that would be retractable hardtop and have good power. And so they're saying, they would try and save as much money as possible. So since they have to engineer from the ground up a brand new platform because they don't have any current sports car platform to use, but they will be using the engine they're thinking from the new Civic Type R, which is 306 horsepower, the turbocharged four-cylinder. And that would be high enough horsepower, I think, to keep the Honda people happy, the dealers. Put that in an awesome rear drive, retractable hardtop roadster, and I think you have a BRZ killer for sure. So great to see that rumor. Now there's also a rumor that when they do come out with it, it will be sold as an Acura if they come out with one. And again, that'll be because they're going to be pushing it a little bit up market, make it a little more expensive with the retractable hardtop and the higher horsepower figures and things like that. Probably looking at a car well over $30,000, but you never know. And anyway, interesting to hear that rumor. Speaking of BRZ killers, though, if you missed the video I posted yesterday of the new BRZ updates for 2017, definitely go check out that video. Other Honda and Acura news, though, is that the first Acura NSX has officially rolled off the line, and they're now being produced, and so very exciting that this is finally happening. It's been so long coming for this new NSX, and so now they finally rolled out the first one here. An interesting story this week is that Cosworth is going to be building a new plant in Detroit, a new assembly plant, and it's going to be a $30 million facility. And it's interesting because they said they're going to be building engines there and things like that. And Cosworth has historically worked with Ford, but Cosworth won't say who it is that they're going to be supplying engines to, except it's a large company that builds high-performance vehicles, which I think being right next door to Ford probably is what's going on here, because they've worked with Ford with Sierra Cosworth is the most famous one, I think, but they've also had tuned versions of other Fords and things like that in the past. But they said the facility is to produce cylinder heads for V8 engines, and so what we're thinking, because this is this is spilled over to the Mustang forums, and what could it be? Because obviously it's a V8. Some kind of upgrade to a V8 engine for probably what is Ford. So what would it be in? Most likely the Mustang. So what version of the Mustang is going to get upgraded cylinder heads? Well, we've been seeing just a few weeks ago the mule, the Mustang Mach 1 mule that's been driving around, or that's what they're calling it. And so, people are saying this could give it an additional maybe 50 horsepower even, and give it a nice gap. You'd have the standard Mustang with its 435 horsepower now, which might get a bump up, by 15 horsepower or so here for the 2018 model year. And so you have that, and then you have an additional 50 horsepower here for a Mach 1 or a Boss 302 version or something like that, and bridge the gap between that and the Shelby, which is still currently on sale, and I'm sure there'll be some kind of GT500 eventually. But this sounds like it's probably for some kind of special edition version of the Mustang. Who knows though? I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't build a facility for a car that's just a one-year special edition or something like that. So I'm sure this might have long-term implications, and that they're just doing stuff for Ford or someone else, and there's other wider uses for this. But interesting to see that they're working on this, and again, it's all just rumors and speculation. Hopefully we'll get more concrete news about future Mustangs soon. In some other very interesting Ford and Lincoln news, Ford this past week, Lincoln has filed for the Zephyr trademark, and then they've also, I'll talk about the other one in a second here, but let's just talk about Zephyr first. This has been used on Lincolns in the past. It goes all the way back to the 30s, and is now, most recently been used on the Lincoln version of the Ford Fusion back in the late 2008, 2007 era, and so they're thinking about bringing it back, and I think now they file trademarks all the time, so this could just be a typical, we're filing a trademark and never using it kind of thing, But what the thinking here is with Lincoln returning to real names with the Continental and keeping the Navigator around, it's been thought that, maybe they'll keep the alphabet soup naming scheme for the SUVs with the MKC and MKTs and all that kind of stuff, MKX, but that maybe the sedans and stuff will keep, normal names. So we're thinking that maybe the Zephyr name is going to be applied to the MKZ, which will then just be called the Lincoln Zephyr, which could make good sense. But the other trademark that Ford filed this past week is for the Thunderbird name. So again, who knows what they're going to do? It could just be they're just filing the trademark, but it would be really, really cool to see the Thunderbird make a return. And the interesting thing is there's also been rumors recently about a Lincoln version of the Mustang that, Lincoln would make a luxury, kind of like the Mark V and those other coupes that they did way back in the 90s and stuff. Could be, they take a Mustang platform and maybe put a different engine in it, put maybe an EcoBoost engine since that's a little more, less traditional, and throw it in the Lincoln there and, give it luxury car looks and stuff, and it would be very cool just to give Lincoln something sporty as well. And so that could also be another possibility for the Zephyr name, is that's something they could be possibly using it for. But maybe it could even be that Ford and Lincoln are doing some kind of separate thing completely, and maybe the Mustang wasn't a suitable platform for this, or something else that is based on the Mustang platform but it's larger, that Lincoln gets a Zephyr two-door, and then Ford, since they're doing a larger two-door, does some kind of awesome Thunderbird redo, which should be very, very cool, and again, could allow them to put those more progressive engines that, Mustang faithful would freak out if they had, only turbo 6-cylinder engines and stuff like that, but you could put that in stuff like the Thunderbird and get away with it, and you couldn't do that with the Mustang, at least not just yet. So maybe that's the thinking there. Who knows? Again, this is just wishful thinking, but it'd be really cool to see a Thunderbird back and a Zephyr badge on the back of a Lincoln again. Both are great nameplates, and so fingers crossed both of them make a reoccurrence. Another great trademark that was filed this past week, this one's on the GM side, and that is that GM has trademarked the ZR1 name again. So what we're thinking here is, of course, they're bringing back the ZR1, for the C7 generation here. Who knows what it'll have, because after just driving the Z06 this past week, I'm not sure where you go from that point, aside from making it mid-engined. But I didn't think the Z06 really had, that many traction issues. It was a lot more stable than the previous gen Z06 in my mind, and I think they've gotten a lot better with that. But if they really do want to compete with Ferrari and stuff like that, go mid-engine. Give it a try. That would be a cool ZR1. Who knows? But we just know they've trademarked the name. Maybe they won't use it. Probably will, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Another cool thing that just came out this past week was Zagato's version of the Aston Martin Vanquish, which they restyled it here and looks really, really beautiful. They have their more traditional circular tail lamps there in the back, and I think overall, they always just make very striking, beautiful looking cars, and this one's no different. It's just a really beautiful thing to look at, and so great to see that. Some other interesting luxury car news is there's a rumor here that Bentley could be bringing back the Azure, which was previously the Arnage-based convertible that they had. That was the larger one. Now you still can get a Continental GTC, Bentley, which is nice, but there's some people that really want something larger and higher end. And with Rolls-Royce getting rid of the Phantom, drop head coupe and convertible here just recently now, there is no really large, high-end, opulent convertible, and so maybe Bentley's trying to fill in the gap there. And so what they're saying is the Bentley CEO, he's also the guy that's running Bentley and Bugatti. He said that as far as this whole idea of something like this goes, he said if they were to do a new Azure, they'd make like 20 of them, and they'd probably be over $1 million each. So it's going to be something. It would be based on the Mulsanne sedan, but just hack off 2 of the doors, put a convertible roof on it, and probably be something along those lines, but still would be very awesome, but very rare and stuff. But a cool idea nonetheless. Another thing that this guy mentioned, like I said, since he also runs Bugatti, there is a rumor about the Galiber, which is the sedan version of the Veyron that was never made, but they just had the concept. People were asking him about that again as well, and he said that they only can do one model at a time. So the Chiron is the current car that they're going to be building for probably the next at least 5 years, and there may be other variants of that, although they don't want to commit to anything yet. But there will probably be a convertible version at some point of that. But he said after that, they're considering what they want to do next. And it could be that they would end up doing a sedan next instead, which would be cool to see. But again, no commitments there, but cool to hear that rumor come back. Speaking of CEOs, there's been a shakeup at Alfa Romeo and Maserati, and they're getting a new CEO, but it's someone who's already the chief of U.S. sales and chief of FCA Canada. Anyway, his name is Reed Bigland, and he is going to be replacing Harold Wester, who was the current CEO here for Alfa Romeo and Maserati. And so I guess this whole, switch up is to hopefully help with this rebound with, all the struggles that Alfa Romeo is currently having coming back to the States and issues with the Giulia that have been popping up and stuff like that. So hopefully, they get everything figured out. I really, really want to see both these brands succeed in the States. So fingers crossed, this new guy comes in and really helps out the brand and allows them to be successful. There's a new report this week saying that Lexus could be coming out with a smaller baby crossover because they have the NX, but they want something smaller than that to compete with the Mercedes, GLA and the X1 and all these other really small little things. And so they're thinking about having something that's based on the Toyota CH-HR, which was their concept, which is a tiny little crossover that's going to be coming out here pretty soon. And so a Lexus version would, of course, just have the Lexus styling and all that kind of stuff and have, a mix of hybrid and probably gasoline engines to choose from, and would probably look a lot like the LFSA little concept here that debuted. And so, interesting to hear that. I mean, it's no surprise with, crossovers being so hot that they would want a yet even smaller one. And so, yeah, but cool to see that nonetheless. And the last story this week, getting back to all the muscle car stuff, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety this past week crash tested the three big muscle cars, the Mustang, the Camaro, and the Challenger, all with V8 engines, and had some interesting findings. So the Camaro fared the best. That and the Mustang were both pretty even, but the Challenger missed the mark in a few ways. But just as a quick little rundown, you can go watch the crash test videos if you want to see these cars getting all smashed up. It's pretty crazy. But basically, the breakdown here was that as far as the small overlap, that was the one area where the Mustang didn't do quite as well, and the Camaro did good, whereas the Mustang did acceptable. They didn't give any reasons as to why the Mustang only did acceptable, but they did say the Camaro was the best. The Dodge Challenger for that area got marginal, and that's because they said that in a small overlap crash like that, the dummy's leg, the left leg, was completely caught, and they actually had to unbolt the leg and ankle from, or the foot and the ankle from the leg in order to get the dummy out. So they said anyone that would be in that type of crash in a Challenger would have lost at least a foot and probably an ankle as well, and suffered serious leg injuries. So yeah, be careful out there if you drive a Challenger. Great, awesome cars, but this new test, I mean, the Challenger design has been around for a long time now. It's had the refresh, but they haven't done any major structural changes. So, I think that's part of the reason why it didn't fare as well as the other two, which are fresh, ground-up changes here, from 2015 and 2016 on. And so, interesting to see that. Otherwise, though, they all fared very well. The roof strength on the Camaro was only acceptable, whereas the Mustang got a good rating. And the roof strength for the Challenger was also only acceptable, as were the head restraints. But yeah, so just interesting to see that. I think they're all pretty safe vehicles for the most part, aside from the Challenger, with that slight. I mean, all the other stuff they did excellent on. They all did good on the side impact. They all did good on the main front impact. It's just that small overlap one that's really challenging that got the Challenger there. But I mean, and I know the Mustang is a very, very safe car. I mean, my buddy Car Guy 11 totaled his last year whenever he was hit by a drunk driver, and it flipped on its roof and everything, and he walked away. He was fine, and it was really, really amazing. So I'm fully convinced in that and all the other wrecks of Mustangs I've seen on the forums and stuff, I'm convinced the Mustang, the new ones here, are a very, very safe car, very well built by Ford. And so great to just know that, whenever you're driving. So anyway, that's it for all the news this week, guys. I'll send it over to me in the car. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed the weekly news. As for the driving portion of the weekly update here, this week I'm in the 2016 Ford Explorer Platinum that Ford dropped off to me here for a week, and so far it's really nice. I mean, it's a giant SUV and typically not my type of vehicle, but nice nonetheless. It's very luxurious. I mean, these seats are heated, cooled, and have massage, which is a first for a press car for me, and so really nice. I'm not going to object to getting a nice back massage massage while I'm driving, and so it should be a nice thing to putt around in for a week here, and you know, gives the Mustang a nice break. I will have another press car next week as well, so the Mustang will get a good 2-week break here. Aside from, I'll probably take the Mustang to Cars and Coffee if the weather's nice this Saturday, but otherwise, yeah, just gonna let the Mustang rest. Thank you for all of your comments of support, some not supportive, but thank you all for checking out, you know, the last week's weekly update there with the Mustang and the smoke issue. I realize it's not that big of a deal, and that's why, you know, I didn't want to like try and freak out about it, but of course, you know, people were getting annoyed that I was annoyed at the car for doing this stuff, even though it is a normal problem. And like I've said in the past, I do realize now that, you know, doing all these modifications was probably unwise. I know a lot of people wanted to see me do modifications to the car, and so I wanted to, you know, make those people happy. And plus it's you know, just exciting to modify a car, and so I was like, what the heck, I'll give it a try and, you know, see what happens, and learned the lesson the hard way that my nerves are not cut out for modifications of that type on you know, a first year early production engine of, you know, brand new untested design for Ford here with the new EcoBoost. And so that's why I have the paranoia that I do have. But like I said, I think it'll hold on, you know, at least for another year here. That's why I'm planning on waiting for the new Mustangs to come out next year before I make the switch. And if I hate the way the new Mustangs look next year, then I can always just pick up a used, you know, 2016 or something like that GT, or possibly a Shelby next year, depending on, you know, how things go as far as, you know, the channel and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's it as far as the whole Mustang is concerned. I want to thank you guys very much for your support, though, over this past week. Tons and tons of you checked out, you know, the reviews. The CTSV review, by the way, got 150,000 views in its first week, which is, I think, some kind of new record as far as car review views in the first week go. So thank you very much. You know, did a lot more work into that video to make it pretty awesome. And okay, people are inching up. Don't hit me, anyone, please. Anyway, so thank you very much, you know, like I said, for your support on that. Thank you for your support on the Corvette C06 review as well. That was a ton of fun to drive, and so that one's doing very well as well. So thank you for, you know, all your support, you know, sharing the videos and liking and commenting and subscribing. I got a nice little bump in subscribers here over the course of the past week as well, and that is still very important, because even if you follow me on social media or follow me on other things, subscribing is very important, because I don't always post everything immediately, you know, so really the best way to stay on top of the videos is simply to subscribe and, you know, get the notifications. You can sign up to, you know, get notified if you want to be one of the first to, you know, see the video. That's the easy way to do that. But yeah, so that's it as far as, you know, everything else goes on the channel here. But anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll do an acceleration here. Again, not going to be anything crazy, of course. Here we go. Yeah, just a quick little pull. We got some traffic, but yeah, you know, 3.5 liter EcoBoost, it gets up and goes pretty well, you know, for being an almost 5,000 pound SUV. So but yeah, nothing is gonna light your hair on fire. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you next week. Take care.